Part 102. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1011. The divination of the Yandao building has come true again. Team 179 encountered a Black Flame special team with 7 members. Mo Xiang and the captain of the special team were still friends and knew each other. Now, it would be easier to handle. Mo Xiang just said that Team 179 discovered an important enemy mining area through reconnaissance. There were 10 powerful enemies in that mining area. Upon hearing Mo Xiang's words, the special team suddenly became energetic. The two teams now have a combined number of 11 people, one more than the other team. Moreover, the demigods who can join the special team are all confident in their own strength. In addition, this team has mastered taking the initiative, and with the temptation of the mining area, the 179 team and the special team quickly discussed it and acted in a coordinated manner. The captain of the special team had an unused Void Divine Thunder in his hand. After bargaining with Mo Xiang like a business deal and determining the principles for the distribution of the spoils, the 11 people changed directions and rushed on at full speed. Kill directly towards the target. The attack was swift and sharp, moving like thunder, leaving almost no extra time for the opponent to react. It only took a little more than a day. Mo Xiang used his super powerful black barrier illusion to cover the 11-man team, and when they were 400 to 500 kilometers away from the floating continent with an area of more than 100,000 square kilometers, 11 individuals assigned positions and surrounded the piece of land from a distance in the air. The captain of the special team did it without saying a word. Without a word of nonsense, he waved his hand and threw it towards the floating continent. His Void Divine Thunder flew into the sky over the continent and exploded instantly. Such a battle is too cruel. So sharp. Just like releasing a powerful nuclear weapon, the burning white light instantly enveloped the continent of more than 100,000 ordinary kilometers, forming a huge mushroom-shaped explosion ring in the void, and the terrifying shockwave swept across in all directions. In the white light, the space formation on the periphery of the continent collapsed first, and then the shell of the entire continent instantly vaporized, revealing the veins containing solar iron inside. The mineral vein is like a strange-looking old tree root buried under the land. Looking from a distance, you can still see the shiny old tree roots, emitting red light. There are countless old tree roots on the entire mineral vein. Like moth-eaten holes, those holes are mines. To be honest, this was the first time Xiaopingan saw such a huge vein of solar iron, which was still being mined. This scene was a bit shocking. Under the power of the Void Divine Thunder, countless people were summoned from the veins and caves. The miners and metal puppets also vaporized all of a sudden, and then the huge veins like old tree roots, like red-hot iron, began to emit a dazzling red light, and their shapes were distorted, as if they were melted, but they did not disappear. It turned into a huge, weird-looking object floating in the void. This process was very fast, taking only 3 to 5 seconds. Then, the next second, the terrifying shockwave brought by the Void Divine Thunder overwhelmingly rushed in front of Xiaopingan and others. Although the shockwave was blocked by the forbidden armor, you can still feel the huge power of the Void Divine Thunder just now. The forbidden armor that resisted the shockwave was like a meteor flying into the atmosphere. Under the huge waves, the entire outer layer of the forbidden armor was glowing and heating, and it was extremely conspicuous in the sky. It's uncomfortable to be so far away. You can imagine what the state of the enemies who bear the brunt of the Void Divine Thunder will be like under that huge piece of land. Xiaopingan felt that this Void Divine Thunder was too valuable. It felt like throwing a grenade into a room where enemies were gathered. After the first shockwave passed, 10 light spots flew towards the surrounding sky. Those 10 light spots were the enemy. The large land mass, the veins of solar iron and the forbidden armor on their bodies prevented them from being wiped out in the devastating explosion of the Void Divine Thunder, but they didn't look uncomfortable either. They should have suffered. Injured. the reaction of those 10 light points was also extremely fast. They were veterans on the battlefield. Because they did not know how many opponents there were, the moment the Void Divine Thunder detonated, the 10 light points began to break out from all directions. The opponent's breakthrough was expected, and Xiaopinggan's encirclement position was designed for this. At this time, being able to leave one person behind is a feat. Squad 179, prepare to fight. Mo Xiang's voice rang in Xiaopinggan's ears, and the next second, Xiaopinggan saw Mo Xiang, who was more than 700 kilometers away, like black clouds looming over the city. The sky curtain flew out from behind him and instantly enveloped the two opponents rushing towards Mo Xiang. The black sky is the divine skill that Mo Xiang has mastered, destroy the illusion. Under the sky of Mo Xiang's divine skill, his combat power can be maximized, while the opponent's strength will be weakened and will be affected by the illusion. Impact. Zai Ling, who was already familiar with fighting with Mo Xiang, saw that two people had been trapped in Mo Xiang's illusion of destruction. Zai Ling rushed into Mo Xiang's illusion of destruction without even thinking, and cooperated with Mo Xiang. Engage in a 2-on-2 battle. In just an instant, Mo Xiang's shattered illusion suddenly became colorful from the outside, like an inflated balloon, and it kept changing its shape. This showed that the fierce battle in the broken illusion had begun. At this time, those demigods who mastered the divine skills used the divine skills without any hesitation. Nan he roared, and used his divine skill. A looming large net covered an enemy who was charging towards him. His opponent had a head like a wild boar and a mouth. The guy with fangs roared and punched towards Nan he. Thousands of cold lights appeared in the sky, forming huge arrows, like thousands of arrows fired at once. Towards the South River. The 7 people from the special team that cooperated with Team 179 also aimed at the target and took action at about the same time. The 7 people blocked 6 targets. The battle between the demigods who had mastered the spiritual skills suddenly started in the void. The curtain opened, and in the sky with a radius of tens of thousands of ordinary kilometers, in an instant, there were colorful brilliance and terrifying aura fluctuations everywhere. The originally chaotic power of the 5 elements in the Black Dragon domain was even more stirred up at this moment. A pot of messy porridge. Xiaopinggan was taken care of very well by Team 179. Because he had not yet mastered the divine skills, during the battle, his position was relatively far back, and he fought together with Nanhe on the side of Nanhe. But at this moment, Nanhe had already fought with his opponent, and there was another enemy rushing towards Xiaopinggan, full of evil spirit, trying to break out of Xiaopinggan. The enemy who broke out from Xiaopinggan was also a summoner and had been injured. He felt that Xiaopinggan didn't seem to have mastered the divine skills and was relatively easy to handle. Then, being more than 100 kilometers away from Xiaopinggan, the summoner faced Xiaopinggan. Ping'an pointed his finger and activated his divine skill. A huge white tiger with a body length of 1,000 meters and as strong as a hill tore through the space. It appeared in the sky with flames all over its body. It turned into a ray of light and pounced towards Xiaopinggan. The summoned white tiger was still 100 miles away from Xiaopinggan. The white tiger opened its huge mouth, and a bottomless rotating hole appeared in the white tiger's mouth. Just like a black hole, a huge suction force appeared in the white tiger's mouth. Sucking Xiaopinggan and flying towards the white tiger's huge mouth, as if Xiaopinggan was going to be ground into pieces in the next second. I'll go, divine skills, then there is no choice. Looking at the white tiger that evolved from the terrifying divine skills, Xiaopinggan cursed in his heart and shook his head. If that guy didn't use the divine skills, he could still do it. Use other spells and fighting techniques to fight, and once the opponent masters the divine technique, ordinary spells and the combination of magic and martial arts are not on the same level as the divine technique, and it is no longer difficult to fight against it. There are only 3 things that can fight against divine skills. Either they can rely on human C tactics to suppress them with will battles. If there is no human C tactics, the only thing that can fight against divine skills is divine skills. If you don't even master divine skills, then, in the end, there is only one thing that can resist the divine skills. The guy who rushed towards Xiaopingan had just a hint of a grin on his face, but the next second, his grin froze on his face, because he saw Xiaopingan's hand move, and Xiaopingan's hand appeared. A huge fortress cannon with a length of more than 200 meters. The huge black hole of the fortress cannon was facing me. Compared with Xiaopingan's height and body and the fortress cannon in his hand, he was like a strong big ant carrying a rifle. This fortress cannon is generally something that is installed in a fortress and is used to protect the fortress. In this world, something that can protect the fortress can certainly deal with killing demigods and suppress their divine skills. Because this fortress cannon is the simplest and most feared thing that is inferior to the artifact and can be made by top demigod craftsmen. This fortress cannon is the one that can defeat 10 societies and the cannon giant ship doctrine with one force. A classic representative of the aesthetics of violence, in the past 2 divine battles, the dark hole of this fortress cannon has annihilated countless demigods and made countless demigods tremble in fear. However, how could this fortress cannon be in the hands of a person? You must know that the divine power required to use this fortress cannon is driven by hundreds of thousands of divine power points. This fortress cannon can absorb the divine power that rushes into it, which translates into the most awesome lethality. Hundreds of thousands of points of divine power, even for a strong demigod, is the amount of divine power that a strong demigod can recover in 1 year or even 2 years in a secret mandala. An ordinary strong demigod can recover the divine power in 1 year. It can be drained in one shot. Maybe, this guy is using illusions and tricks to scare himself. This idea just appeared in the guy's head. The next second, the guy saw the muzzle of the fortress cannon pointed at him suddenly light up. A dark light appeared at the muzzle, and then the next second, that the dark light has already hit him. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1012. Boom. The terrifying and special fluctuations of the fortress cannon, as well as the black brilliance, shook the space within 100 miles of the target. Several floating peaks 10,000 meters away from the body of the man hit by the fortress cannon were hit by the residual power of the fortress cannon. The impact was instantaneous and turned into powder. The guy who was bombarded by the fortress screamed, and the taboo armor on his body shattered and then regrouped. The left hand and half of the body of the man under the taboo armor were directly turned into powder by the fortress cannon. Half of the body was covered in blood and flesh, and although the musculoskeletal blood vessels were rapidly growing again, this time, the guy was severely injured. Because the body was severely injured, the divine skill that the guy had just displayed was also interrupted. The huge white tiger swayed, turned into a ray of light, and dissipated instantly. The huge suction and pressure, the sun is gone. Xiaopingan's shot also startled others on the battlefield. No one thought that Xiaopingan would escape from such a big guy, including Nanhe, and they didn't expect that Xiaopingan would carry such a perverted thing as a fortress cannon with him. The next second, Xiaopingan didn't need to say anything. A bearded man with a giant axe from the 7-man Black Flame special team had already rushed over. With a loud roar, his body was still 100 miles away, and the axe was already there. He struck at the guy who was injured by Xiaopingan's fortress cannon. Just for a moment, he saw a bright young man flying out from behind the big man, holding a giant axe and striking at a tall and towering mountain. And as soon as the mountain peak appeared, it just suppressed the guy who was injured by Xiaopingan. This is a divine skill. The person from the Black Flame special team rushed over, not to take the credit from Xiaopingan, but to help Xiaopingan take on powerful enemies who mastered divine skills, because Xiaopingan and his team had exactly one more person than that person over there. The big man holding a giant axe is the mobile operator of the special team. This is mutual cooperation on the battlefield. In the blink of an eye, when he saw the big man's divine skill, Xiaoping'an felt like his body was alerted. Damn, this divine skill definitely evolved from Agarwood saving his mother. Xiaoping'an didn't know Chen Xiang, so he didn't recognize Agarwood's axe, but he knew the mountain, which was the Lotus Peak on the west peak of Huashan Mountain. When the giant axe came, the seriously injured guy had to fight for his life. With a roar, a golden giant turtle appeared behind him and lifted up the mountain. The golden giant turtle directly used the turtle to the shell protected that guy. This is also a defensive technique among the gods. The giant axe used by Agarwood to save her mother struck the golden giant tortoise with the force of the Huashan mountain. At that moment, like thousands of thunders erupting, the rumbling shockwave shook the entire space, and the space was completely destroyed. A tearing feeling. This duel of divine skills is too fierce, and the duel between masters and strong masters of divine skills cannot be determined instantly. The guy who had been blasted by the void divine thunder once and was hit by Xiaoping'an's fortress cannon, after receiving the axe, had begun to spit out golden blood, and there were dozens more blood on his unhealed body. There were big and small cracks, and the whole person's breath suddenly withered a lot, and it was probably more dangerous than good. In this case, Xiaoping'an did not intervene anymore. After all, the fortress cannon fired a shot and hundreds of thousands of divine power points. He himself felt very distressed. It was easy for him to reveal his secrets and see a comrade on his side take over his. His opponent, Xiaoping'an, had already rushed towards the distance. At 3 o'clock to his right, there were two pairs of men and horses fighting using the combined technique of magic and martial arts. Needless to say, two of the two pairs of men and horses were fighting. One person is from Black Flame's special team, and the other two have just escaped from that piece of land. Like him, the four of them have not mastered the divine skills, but the battle is equally fierce. Xiaoping'an felt that that was his battlefield, and it was time to get some divine power points to make up for it. As long as the opponent did not master divine skills, Xiaoping'an could confidently kill any opponent of the same level. Those who mastered divine skills could actually kill them. But the price is very high. At least the consumption of divine power points can make Xiaoping'an feel distressed to death. I'll do it! Xiaoping'an roared and rushed to the battlefield closest to him. On this battlefield, a female demigod wearing a bronze mask on the face of a special team was fighting against a minotaur. He punched out, and the secret technique of the will seal mobilized the power of the 5 elements in the surrounding void, suddenly forming a huge blue millstone, and instantly involved an enemy into the millstone of the will seal. As soon as the expert takes action, he will know if there is any. As soon as the female demigod of the special team saw Xiaoping'an's move, she knew that Xiaoping'an was strong enough to kill the minotaur she just faced. So the next second, the female demigod left the battlefield and rushed towards her teammates. Fight 2 against 1 with your teammates, and attack another strong enemy. The battle here was evenly matched just now, but now with the addition of this female demigod, the balance of victory quickly tilted towards Black Flame. On such a battlefield, this is the importance of running in and cooperation, especially for the side with the advantage in numbers and strength. These experienced veterans can lock their opponents in an instant and can put their own side on the battlefield. The advantages quickly widened. When Xiaoping'an blasted out the will seal, he turned into a stream of light and rushed into the giant will of the seal. While urging the will seal, he directly fought closely. Although the Minotaur was also a powerful demigod, the strength is not weak, but in the face of Xiaoping'an's combat power output, it is still dwarfed in an instant. After holding on for less than half a minute, the weapon evolved from the tail of Xiaoping'an's forbidden armor turned into a terrifying steel whip, like a spiritual snake. When the Minotaur was struggling left and right, it suddenly pierced the bull's head. The monster demigod's head smashed the Minotaur demigod's body into pieces. The Minotaur demigod exploded a large amount of things. Xiaoping'an waved his hand, put away the things, and then rushed towards the battlefield next to him. Seeing Xiaopingan kill his companions in the blink of an eye, the human summoner who was being entangled by two special team demigods was frightened. He finally felt the fear of death. Now 1 against 2, he was already at the end of a crossbow. And now with a stronger opponent, he will definitely die. Roar! The guy roared, and the taboo armor on his body burst out with a ball of blood. The bloodlight formed a huge magic eye and surrounded him, causing his entire strength to surge instantly. He slashed with one sword. When he came out, the power was doubled, and he immediately sent two opponents flying away. Then he turned into a bloody light and quickly left the battlefield, trying to escape into the distance. "Leave him to me, you go support the others." Xiaopingan yelled at the two people from the special team, and quickly chased the escaping guy. The two people in the special team now roughly understood Xiaopingan's strength. When they saw Xiaopingan going after that guy, the two people did not hesitate and immediately rushed towards the big man with the giant axe who had just supported Xiaopingan. "Go over there and prepare to support the big guy with the giant axe." Xiaopingan and the others originally had a numerical advantage. After Xiaopingan took the lead in killing an opponent, their numerical advantage had expanded from 1 to 2. Once these two people cooperated with the big man using the giant axe, they quickly killed by getting rid of the guy who was seriously injured and struggling after being blasted by Xiaopingan. Black Flame's numerical advantage can be expanded to 3 people in the shortest time. One of them also masters the divine skill, while the opponent only has 8 people. 3. If an individual supports 2 battlefields again, the victory of this battle will be basically sealed. Xiaopingan didn't care about the battlefield behind him, he had already locked onto that guy. But the guy's escape speed was too fast. Xiaopingan chased the guy for more than 2,000 kilometers in the blink of an eye, but the guy's speed did not slow down at all. Under the ball of blood, it was like a wild boar that had taken tonic and grown wings. It rushed forward desperately, its body turned into a blood-red stream of light, and it was as fast as lightning. All it wanted was to escape quickly. Just when Xiaopingan couldn't help but think about taking out the fortress cannon to give that guy a shot again, suddenly, Xiaopingan felt that the void of the surrounding universe was still at this moment, and in this still feeling, in the heart of his ancient god's heart, a huge 3-dimensional talisman suddenly emitted a golden light, and then the talisman was completely integrated into Xiaopingan's ancient god's heart. Xiaopingan's whole body rose with golden flames. In the golden flames, a tall man wearing a dragon robe appeared behind Xiaopingan. After a set of clean punches, he merged into Xiaopingan's body. Divine skills. The divine skills are fused. The process of fusion of spiritual skills sounds long, but in fact it only happens in a flash of light. Everything around him, at this moment, is still for Xiaopingan. The opponent who was escaping like a stream of light before, at this moment in Xiaopingan's eyes, it was like a snail frozen in the void. A secret set of divine skills suddenly appeared in Xiaopingan's mind. This secret method was derived from Taizhi Changquan, but it was integrated with the 5 elements fist that Xiaopingan was most proficient in. Like a butterfly breaking out of a cocoon, all of a sudden, a new set of divine skills evolved, the Emperor's Divine Fist. Xiaopingan almost looked up to the sky and screamed, because at this moment, he felt that his body was filled with an unspeakable power, which seemed to be able to easily shatter the stars. Then in the next second, everything around him returned to normal. Xiaopingan looked at the escaping opponent and punched out. The huge iron fist like a mountain was separated by hundreds of kilometers, completely ignoring all space and distance, and appeared directly on the head of the guy who was running away. When the iron fist came out, it was like an iron mountain smashing down, with a majestic aura. The surrounding space instantly became like an iron wall, locked by the fist's will, making it difficult for the guy to fly away. The aura coming from the iron fist was even more terrifying. It was one that had completely surpassed and crushed the upper limit of his current strength. Hit. Spiritual skills and boxing. The guy yelled, his face turned ashen. Boom. Under the Emperor's divine fist, the void shook, and the fleeing blood-red stream of light was directly crushed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1013. As a demigod-level powerhouse, everyone has eyes and ears in all directions during the battle, and is extremely sensitive to any changes in the surrounding battlefield. When Xiaopingan chased him out just now, although Xiaopingan was already more than 2,000 years away from the battlefield, kilometers, but this distance is still within the perception of those powerful demigods. Especially the moment Xiaopingan understood the divine skills, a strong wave of energy burst out from his body to accommodate and comprehend the divine skills. Those who were fighting, no matter whether we or the enemy, felt it all at once. After that, everyone saw Xiaopingan. Pingan uses his divine skills to kill his opponent with one punch. At this moment, the balance of the battlefield was completely reversed. Xiaopingan's numerical advantage suddenly expanded to 3 people, and at the same time there was an additional master who had just realized the divine skill. Seeing Xiaopingan immediately change direction and quickly approach the battlefield after killing a person, everyone on the demon god side who was still fighting immediately panicked. The masters on the demon god side were all afraid that Xiaopingan, who was rushing over, would join their battlefield and make themselves a target. For those who master spiritual skills, usually one-on-one is a fierce fight, but in a two-on-one situation, if one party is not particularly strong, it is very difficult to defeat more with less. And under the current situation, everyone on the side of the dominant demon god was more or less injured by the power of the void divine thunder. They were in a weak position during the fight, and could only barely hold on. No one had the will to fight in their hearts. Xiaopingan's sudden peak suddenly became the last big tree that broke the camel's back. When people panic, they lose their composure and are prone to making mistakes and making stupid moves. This is true even for demigods when life and death are at stake. When Xiaopingan was approaching the battlefield and there were still more than 1,300 kilometers away, a summoner from the demon god side who was fighting with Xiaopingan and the captain of the special team saw Xiaopingan rushing towards him and was distracted. His mind trembled, and his reaction was slightly slower. In less than 1/100th of a second, the tragedy happened. The captain of that special team is a dark-faced middle-aged man named Qin Li with a sinister look on his face. He wears a blood-red forbidden armor. He can lead a 7-man demigod team. He is definitely strong enough. He can't ignore the opponent's sudden flash of fire. In the blink of an eye, his divine skill had penetrated into the opponent's defense gap. In an instant, the spear in his hand turned into a purple fire dragon, which hit the opponent's head and body heavily, directly knocking the opponent out. The blast shattered bones and tendons, and most of the muscles and skin on his body were directly carbonized by the bombardment of the purple fire dragon. He was seriously injured in an instant and was blown away with a scream. How could Qin Li, who succeeded in one move, give up the opportunity in front of him and let the other party escape? Just when the other party was desperately trying to escape, Qin Li chased after him and shouted, "I'll take my life," and the divine skill exploded again. With just one blow, the spear turned into light and passed through the void, piercing the defense of the opponent's divine skills. Then followed by a second shot, before the opponent was seriously injured and had no time to react, he was completely injured, including the gun and the gun. Together, the divine skills exploded again, turning into a huge 10,000-meter long spear of light in the air, directly penetrating the opponent's body. Boom! The body of Qin Li's opponent was completely annihilated by the bombardment of the divine skill, and countless things exploded out at once. Qin Li put away the things exploded by his opponent with a wave of his hand, turned around, and joined forces to support his companions and kill in the distance. His latest battlefield was another 2-on-1 battlefield. At this time, Xiaoping'an's numerical advantage suddenly expanded to 4 people, which was already the size of a small team, while the number of opponents became 7. In a moment, when Xiaoping'an was approaching the battlefield and there were still more than 600 kilometers away, another battle was decided. This battle was originally 3-on-1. The demigod summoner who did not master the divine skill and another demigod summoner who mastered the divine skill together surrounded and killed the alien demigod with a wolf head who dominated the demon god's side. Under the siege of 3 opponents, the besieged alien demigods were already struggling to hold up and were on the verge of collapse. Now, they were directly defeated by the 3 of them using divine skills and killing moves to break through the defensive barrier at the same time, and were killed on the spot. At this moment, the few remaining people on the side of the dominant demon god completely collapsed, like dominoes collapsing, and the battle situation suddenly plummeted, making it difficult to recover. The opponent who was fighting with Nanhe used his forbidden armor to withstand Nanhe's blow. He vomited blood, and then blasted away Nanhe's net. He wanted to slip away, but at this time, Xiaoping'an was already approaching. More than 500 kilometers away from the battlefield, when he saw the man trying to escape, he punched him. As a divine skill, the Emperor's Divine Fist, in addition to its huge power, its biggest feature is that it can bombard from the air regardless of distance. The energy and power of the Divine Fist will not be dissipated in the middle like the 5 Elements Fist, but will be condensed and exploded at one point. When Xiaoping'an came out and attacked, the Emperor's Divine Fist seemed to be summoned in front of his opponent, and there was no way to avoid it. As soon as Xiaoping'an punched, a mountain-like iron fist appeared above the guy's head. The space vibrated, and an overwhelming force hit the guy, seemingly capable of crushing everything. Ah! The man intercepted by the iron fist roared, and once again fought with Xiaoping'an, and then with a bang, the fleeing figure was shattered by the iron fist, and the whole body's muscles and bones were broken. He vomited blood, and his face turned pale. Tragically, he was hit by Xiaoping'an's divine fist and flew backwards towards Nanhe. Nanhe has already prepared his ultimate move. A dragnet. Amidst Nanhe's roar, Nanhe finally made his killing move. The net he threw out exploded from a point in the void and turned into a giant net composed of thousands of densely packed rays of light. Directly enveloped that person, and then could no longer move, and then suddenly retracted it, and the thousands of rays of light that formed the giant net suddenly gathered from all directions and penetrated into the gaps of that person's taboo armor. The man's body began to glow, and the next second, the body inside the armor began to glow, and then it exploded into pieces, exploding a large area of things. Nanhe put away the things that exploded, and in the next second, without thinking, he rushed into Mo Xiang's shattered illusion to support Mo Xiang and Zi-Ling in the battle. Xiaoping'an, who rushed to the battlefield, without saying a word, plunged into Mo Xiang's shattered illusion to support his teammates. When Xiaoping'an rushed in, within the barrier of the shattered illusion, there were already Mo Xiang, Zi-Ling, and Nanhe fighting 3 against 1. The only remaining guy on the demon god's side was already at the end of his strength, his body was covered with scars, and he was trapped on 3 sides. Extremely frightened, panting like a dog, seeing Xiaoping'an rushing in again, the surrounded guy was completely desperate. 2 minutes later, the shuttle in Ziling's hand passed through the guy's head and exploded the guy directly. When Mo Xiang put away his shattered illusion, the 4 of them rushed into the battlefield again. The battlefield outside was almost over. The few remaining demigods on the Demon Lord's side were basically killed by members of the special team. Finally, there was only one guy who escaped. That guy had mastered a weird spiritual skill, which was like a powerful surrogate death technique. The moment his body was shattered when he was attacked, he turned into a huge stone. At the moment when the stone shattered, in the void thousands of miles away, a black hole appeared. The guy's body emerged from the black hole. After taking a hard look here, his body became transparent and he fled the battlefield in the blink of an eye. Because the distance was a bit far, if we can't catch up here, we can only watch that guy escape. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1014. As soon as the battle ended, Qin Li, still with bloodstains on his body, flew over and glanced at the 4 members of Xiaopinggan's team. The difference from before was that this time his eyes lingered on Xiaopinggan for a while longer, and his eyes were a little deep. As if he wanted to remember Xiaopinggan's appearance. "Old Mo, how are you okay?" In this battle, Xiaopinggan killed 2 opponents by himself, and also assisted twice. He used a fortress cannon to seriously injure one of the opponent's spiritual masters. He actually understood and fused the divine skills on the battlefield. His performance was really impressive. "It's okay, how are you?" Mo Xiang flew forward without leaving a trace, blocking Qin Li's gaze towards Xiaopinggan. "Just kidding, now Xiaopinggan is the treasure of Team 179, Xiaopinggan's true value is not the spiritual skills he had just mastered through fusion, although Xiaopinggan's spiritual skills seemed to be very powerful, Xiaopinggan's value was his extremely powerful divination ability. Such a complex cutting-edge talent could not be pried away by others. Fortunately, it's nothing serious," Qin Li laughed and looked away from Xiaopinggan. After all, he had just cooperated with Team 179 to do a big job. This battle was fruitful, and everything was in order. Being in control makes people feel particularly comfortable. At this time, it seems a bit unkind to pry the opponent's corner. Then retreat. I think the guy who escaped is not a fuel-efficient lamp. He has been hiding his strength because he was afraid of being attacked by us. That guy may be the leader of this base. It is not suitable to stay here for a long time. Mo Xiang glanced at it. Taking a look at the battlefield, he saw that everyone had basically cleaned up the battlefield, so he suggested. "Yes, it is indeed not advisable to stay here for a long time. There was a big battle just now, and the number and position of everyone has been exposed. If the guy who escaped calls more enemy troops and kills a carbine, there may be greater losses here. Therefore, in the Black Dragon territory, all teams and demigod experts will leave the battlefield immediately like guerrillas after the battle. This is a bloody experience." Qin Li looked at the huge burning ore veins floating in the void in the distance like old tree roots, shook his head, and sighed, "It's a pity, this is a large mine of solar iron. The other party shouldn't have it yet. How long does it take to mine? The sun iron in the sun iron vein contains special energy and the aura of the gods, so this vein cannot be swallowed and absorbed by the secret mandala and can only be obtained through continuous mining. Let's see who can control this airspace from now on." Mo Xiang also shook his head. Once this kind of mineral vein in a war zone is exposed, it will become a hot potato. Whoever wants to mine will expose themselves to the public and become the opponent target, so they can only evacuate. Team 179 and the Special Forces team came and went like the wind. Once they decided to evacuate, 2 minutes later, under the cover of Mo Xiang's secret illusion technique, everyone became transparent in the void, disappeared in the blink of an eye, and quickly left the battlefield. Those who were injured in the battle just now were treated with elixirs or medicines while flying. As for the demigods, as long as they were not seriously injured, the recovery power of the demigods was very strong, even if their hands were broken. The feet can also heal themselves in a short period of time. Everyone flew in this chaotic airspace for almost a day before finally stopping and finding a place to stay. This foothold was in a mountain range of tens of thousands square kilometers floating in the sky. Everyone flew into the mountain range. Qin Li waved his hand and a huge pangolin was summoned. The pangolin was bigger than a cow and had a burning with raging flames. The hard rock is like tofu in front of the drill in front of this flame pangolin. As soon as the pangolin drilled, it directly drilled a hole more than 2 meters high on the mountain wall. The rock walls around the hole melted and turned into a cave wall as glorious as volcanic rock. The pangolin quickly drilled into the belly of the mountain. After a while, he finished his work and emerged from the cave again. Qin Li put away the pangolin and waved his hand. The temperature of the cave, which was still hot just now, cooled down in the blink of an eye and became no longer scorching hot. Then take out a formation plate to protect the surroundings of the cave. Even if this temporary camp is successfully set up, it will take less than 3 minutes, just like a field army setting up a tent while resting. Okay, the foothold is ready, everyone, come in. Qin Li was the first to walk in, and everyone filed in. Many people also habitually placed or summoned their own gadgets outside the cave. Standing guard outside the cave, standing guard for everyone, Mo Xiang summoned an assassin to hide in the rocks outside the cave, while Xiaopinggan habitually summoned the god of fortune boy, leaving him to mess around. Visit. This chaotic black dragon realm is like a big playground for the god of fortune boy. Every time he is released, the god of fortune boy is very happy and disappears in front of Xiaopinggan in the blink of an eye. Walking more than 200 meters along the entrance of the cave, after turning a corner, we entered a hall that had just dissolved in the middle of the mountain. This hall was like a huge semicircular bubble, with enough 400 to 500 square meters. There are 4 passages around the hall, and on both sides of each passage, there are 3 or 2 circular rooms covering an area of 50 to 60 square meters, where everyone can rest separately. Okay, everyone, let's take out all the solar irons in the trophies just now, Mo Xiang said, and with a wave of his hand, he took out the solar irons in the trophies he got. The sun iron crystals floated in the void, shining brightly, like little suns. There was a faint aura of the gods in those sun iron crystals. Xiaopingyan also took out the solar iron among the trophies he got and put them together. The 7 members of the special team also took out their own sun irons. According to the previous agreement between Team 179 and Qin Li's special team, because Qin Li and his team consumed a void divine thunder before the battle, and in this battle, Qin Li and his team also had the largest number of people, so the previous agreement was that Qin Li and his team had the largest number of people in this battle. Team Li can get 6.5% of all the sun iron loot after this battle, and Team 179 will share 3.5% of the sun iron. As for other loot, such as the forbidden armor left by the enemy, whoever kills it will own it. Sun iron is an important strategic resource. For example, the core components of Xiaopingyan's fortress cannon are made of sun iron. In addition, sun iron has many other uses, such as powerful magic weapons, formation discs, and puppet mechanisms. And the core of the fortress, among others. The spoils of the sun iron were quickly distributed. Mo Xiang collected all the sun iron spoils from Xiaopingyan and the others. As the collective credit of the team, they could be exchanged for various things by returning to the base and fortress and turning them in. Okay, the spoils have been distributed. Everyone has worked hard in this battle. Let's each have a good rest for 2 days before deciding on the next move. After Qin Li finished speaking, he walked to the passage next to him and chose a room. Entering and waving his hand, the room was isolated by a small formation. Everyone randomly found a room and went in to rest. Team 179, for example, has been flying around and fighting in the outer airspace for nearly half a month without rest. It really needs to rest and adjust at this temporary foothold, otherwise it will affect the subsequent combat effectiveness. Especially today's battle is the most intense and largest in the past 6 months, and everyone consumes a lot of money. Xiaopingyan and Nan He walked towards the passage on the left. There were 2 rooms there, just for Xiaopingyan and Nan He to stay. By the way, where did you get your fortress cannon? Nan He asked. I used military merit points in Wolong territory in exchange for it, Xiaopingyan shrugged. That's too perverted. How many military merit points can be exchanged for this thing? You can exchange it for 1000 military points plus 300,000 points of divine power. That thing is really not something ordinary people can use, but it's so cool when I see you using it, Nan, he exclaimed. How about I lend you a few days' entertainment? Upon hearing this, Nanhi's head immediately shook like a rattle. Forget it, that thing, one shot will make me bankrupt. Can you use that thing? Did you dig up the divine crystal mine before? Almost. The two chatted casually for a few words, and then returned to their respective rooms. Xiaoping'an entered the room, waved his hand, and a small array plate covered the room. The room suddenly became an extremely private space. Then, Xiaoping'an took out the trophies he got this time and took inventory, 2 sets of forbidden armor, more than 100,000 points of divine crystal mines, some pills and miscellaneous things, but the most important thing is, there are 2 boundary beads. The forbidden armor obtained by killing the enemy cannot be used immediately. If these forbidden armors want to be integrated with other demigods again, they must undergo special processing, which requires the consumption of solar iron. This forbidden battle is also something that needs to be handed over. As for the divine crystal mine, Xiaoping'an found that he looked down upon it, because he had killed 2 opponents, and the divine power condensed in his secret mandala tower had exceeded 3 million points. These more than 100,000 points, the divine crystal mine is indeed nothing. Some of those miscellaneous things could be used, so Xiaoping'an put them in the mandala's warehouse and collected them by category. What interests Xiaoping'an the most are the 2 world beads. It had been a long time since Xiaoping'an had obtained a new world bead. These 2 world beads made Xiaoping'an feel energetic. There are 2 world beads, one is the divine power world bead, Mencius corrected it, and the other world bead is quite mysterious and profound. Among the dark world beads, there are countless stars rotating, and among the stars, there are 4 golden ones. The characters of Gan Shi Xingjing are looming. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1015. In the endless void of the Black Dragon domain, a snake-shaped flying boat is hiding in the shadow of a land tens of thousands of kilometers away, floating along with the land in the void. In the snake-shaped flying boat, a demigod who was more than 3 meters tall with a snake head and human body was in the command cabin of the flying boat, squinting his blood-red eyes and looking at the endless void in the distance. This alien demigod has huge, thick metal scales growing all over his body. The scales form a weird armor covering his body, and on each scale, there are weird golden runes like tadpoles, with an intimidating aura. The human being is full of eerie beauty, and around the neck and wrists of this strong foreigner, there are strings of beads made of human skulls hanging. Anyone who is familiar with the genealogy of all races in the universe will definitely know that he is a strong member of the Black Scale Demon clan when he sees this person. The Black Scale Demon clan is a branch separated from the Snake people. As far as the Snake people are concerned, the entire Snake people have good and bad qualities, and the Snake people have many branches. Some Snake people stand on the side of the Master of Heaven and form an alliance with humans. An example of justice. There are also some Snake people who have taken refuge in the Overlord Demon God, and the Black Scale Demon clan is a branch that has taken refuge in the Overlord Demon God. In order to pursue the ultimate power and make their own bloodline more powerful, the Black Scale Demon clan has long it uses human flesh and blood and spirit as food, and constantly sacrifices human blood to the dominant demon god. It can be said that the Black Scale Demon clan is the mortal enemy of all humans in the universe. After countless years of devouring and being rewarded by the dominant demon god, the Black Scale Demon clan has evolved a powerful racial talent. As long as it can continue to devour humans and some rare mineral deposits, the Black Scale Demon clan can continue to become stronger. Advanced. In almost all places in the universe, the Black Scale Demon clan is one of the main forces on the side of the Overlord Demon God, and is also the most trusted by the Overlord Demon God. According to legend, What the Overlord Demon God rewarded the Black Scale Demon clan was a trace of the Demon God on the Overlord Demon God bloodline, and therefore, the Black Scale Demon clan often regards itself as a blood-related race and guard under the command of the dominating Demon God. The fish that slipped through the net that dominated the Demon God's side and escaped from the battlefield after the battle with Xiaoping'an and the others arrived at this airspace after flying for more than a day. Just like the teams under the Black Flame, the teams under the dominant Demon God also have magical equipment that can be contacted and sensed within a certain range. Oh, is anyone asking for help? The Black Scale Demon in the snake-shaped flying boat felt the strange fluctuations coming from a dark ring on his hand. His eyes moved, and he directly ordered one of his subordinates, "Bring the person here." After a while, the fish that slipped through the net entered the snake-shaped airship and met the black-scaled demon. When the two sides met, they were both slightly stunned. "Sales, I didn't expect it to be you." Seeing the fish that slipped through the net looking tired and pale, the black-scaled demon smiled, and the scarlet snake letter spat out from his mouth, looking suspicious. "Good intentions, like sensing prey, aren't you leading your team to guard a solar iron mine? Why are you in such a mess? Is the mine lost?" "The mine where I was stationed was discovered by the enemy and was raided. The land where the mine is located melted under the attack of the Void Divine Thunder. The mine has been exposed and cannot continue to be mined." He, you lost the mine, and you were the only one to escape. According to military regulations, if you lose both land and troops, you can be executed immediately. I don't mind being the executioner and getting a taste of your flesh and blood." The black scale demon is already a little eager to try, and his blood-red eyes have become dangerous, as if he wants to drool. The man named Schulz looked at the black-scaled demon in front of him, his expression remained unchanged, and he said coldly, "Tulmoza, I broke out after a bloody battle. I didn't abandon the land and the army and fled. The blood of the devil in my body is not yet there burning, my loyalty to the Lord Demon God has not changed. If you dare to touch me, you will definitely die." The eyes of the black-scale demon Tulmoza moved, and then he suddenly smiled, and waved his hand impatiently. "Okay, then what do you mean by coming to me? Do you want me to escort you back to the base?" Then I'm sorry, I'm stationed in the war zone now, and I don't have time to meddle in your business, so you can go back and explain yourself." Shale's eyes also flashed and he said in a deep voice, "You are wrong. I'm not here to beg you for anything, I'm here to give you a reward." "Credit? What kind of credit?" Upon hearing this, the black-scaled demon Tulmoza suddenly became curious, and then mocked, "What kind of credit can you get from your current situation? Don't ever say that you discovered something again. I've found a hidden vein of solar iron ore, and I'm not interested in mining. The ones who attacked me were all humans, and women." Shars also added an accent to the words humans and women because he knew what the poisonous snake in front of him liked. "There are only 11 of them, among which there are only 9 masters of divine skills. They are no match for you. You have more than 30 men under your command, which is several times their number. You have the ability to destroy them." The snake letter of the black scale demon Tulmoza began to spit out from his mouth again, flying in the air. He sneered, "Do you think I am an idiot? Those people attacked you, there is no way you can still stay where you are. Wait for me to dig mines in the ground to surround them, they have already gone to who knows where." "They did leave the mining area, but I know where they went," Shars said calmly. "How could you know?" Black Scale Demon Tulmoza asked suspiciously. With a move of his hand, Shars took out a palm-sized bronze bell. "This is a treasured magic weapon I got from the secret treasure of God. When this treasured magic weapon is shaken, its the sound can calm people's mind and soul, and prevent people from going crazy when practicing. These bells were originally a pair, a mother-in-law bell, not one. There was another one, and I gave it to one of my subordinates. Has now been taken away by those people as a trophy. What do you want to say?" Sal smiled coldly, I want to say that in addition to calming the mind and soul, this mother bell can feel the location of the other child bell as long as I hold it in my hand. Those people don't, they ran too far and have already settled in one place to rest. After the battle, they will probably rest for a while to recover. Moreover, they must not know that the bell on their hands can be sensed by me, and they cannot be prepared for it. This is me. I don't know if you want the credit I'm giving you, but if you don't want it, I can find someone else. The black-scaled demon Tulmasa narrowed his eyes and glared at Shars, looking particularly cunning. How do I know you didn't lie to me? What if there are more of them than me and this is a trap? Shales spread his hands. I will act and fight together with you. I will never send myself into a trap. Okay, what are your conditions? Do you just want revenge? I need 30% of all the loot. The black scale demon Tulmasa shook his head. 30%, that's too much. Even if everything you said is right, to eliminate such a team, my men will have to make great sacrifices. In terms of loot, at most I'll only give you 10%. But Shars refused to give in. I also want to participate in the war. I can get this 10% of the spoils even without you. In this case, why do I have to cooperate with you? In addition to the spoils, you need military merit. I heard that you will soon be able to accumulate military merit to enter the ancient secret realm. This is an opportunity to become a god. Such military merit cannot be encountered at any time. The words military merit seemed to impress the black-scaled demon Tulmosa, and Tulmosa's attitude seemed to be a little loose. A few minutes later, after the terms were negotiated, the snake-shaped spacecraft hidden under the land flew out from under the land. After becoming invisible, the snake-shaped spacecraft flew directly and quickly in the direction pointed by Shars. On the snake-shaped flying boat, more than 30 demigods of the black-scale demon clan were already gearing up and preparing for battle. When the airship was dispatched, Xiaopingan was surrounded by a beautiful cocoon of light that looked like a starry sky. At this moment, Xiaopingan, in the world of Jizu, transformed into Ganda, a native of Qi during the Warring States period, looking up at the vast starry sky and writing astronomical astrology, the earliest masterpiece of astronomy. Others in the temporary base were also resting or recovering from injuries, unaware that their positions had been exposed and danger was imminent. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1016. In the lounge, after an unknown period of time, Xiaopingan's divine power fluctuations disappeared, and the light cocoon finally shattered, turning into dots of brilliance and dissipating in the air. Xiaopingan, who was sitting cross-legged, also opened his eyes. 314 points of divine power does not seem to be a perfect fusion. If this world bead is perfectly fused, the upper limit of divine power is 360 points. This is the masterpiece of Chinese literature. During the Warring States period, when the rest of the world was still barbaric, even the written word when there was no such time, the ancestors of the Chinese people were already looking up at the stars and studying the impact of changes in the starry sky and the universe on human beings. Xiaopingan looked at the new upper limit of divine power in his secret mandala, and shook his head with a little regret. Double fusion world beads are indeed rare. I have never encountered them before. Yes, Xiaopingan's world bead is a rare double fusion world bead, that is, Xiaopingan will fuse the world bead twice in a row and play two different roles. One role is Ganda, and the other role is Ganda. Shi Shen, this Gan Shi Xing Jing is a collection of the two men's astronomical works. Most of Gan Shi Xing Jing was lost after the Tang dynasty, making it difficult for future generations to get a glimpse of the full picture of this astronomical masterpiece. This is the reason why Xiaopingan did not perfectly integrate this masterpiece, even though Xiaopingan had rich knowledge of astronomy and historical knowledge, but he was unable to reproduce the original version of Ganshi Xingjing. It must be said that this is a pity. When he was doing historical research, Xiaopinggan had worked hard on the Chinese astronomical calendar. Xiaopinggan once clearly saw the zodiac constellations depicted in the murals of the Dunhuang grottos. This discovery made Xiaopinggan was extremely shocked at that time, because the murals in the Dunhuang grottos had irrefutably shown that the so-called constellations of Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Lion, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces in later generations, the earliest source may be China rather than ancient Babylon. Xiaopinggan made a bold inference at that time. The 12 constellations were most likely derived from the Ganshi star book, because the Ganshi star book contained a lot of divination content through astrology and celestial phenomena, which was difficult for ordinary people in ancient China. The advanced knowledge they came into contact with was firmly controlled by the rulers, so it did not spread. However, the Dunhuang murals retained some discoveries and things in the Ganshi star book, so future generations can see the 12 constellations in the Dunhuang murals. It's just that this inference cannot be confirmed. When Xiaopinggan just integrated the world bead of Ganshi star scripture, he had already added a lot of astronomy knowledge and the content of the 12 constellations into it. Unexpectedly, this world bead was still not a perfect fusion, and there were still gaps. This has to make Xiaopinggan sigh that the glory of Chinese history and civilization exceeds the imagination of many people. After sighing with emotion, Xiaopinggan gathered his energy and began to pay attention to the changes brought to his secret mandala after integrating this world bead from Ganshi Star Sutra. Before going out on a mission with Team 179, Xiaopinggan's secret mandala's upper limit of divine power was 27,498 points. In the past few months, he had integrated several divine power beads obtained as trophies, and his upper limit of divine power had just exceeded 27,600 points. At this moment, coupled with the 21-point new upper limit of divine power added by the world bead modified by Mencius just now, his upper limit of divine power at this moment has reached 27,918 points, and he is only one step away from breaking through 28,000 points. Coupled with the reward for his terrifying record of 89 wins in the God of War arena, his monthly divine power can be increased by an additional 71,762 points. At this moment, Xiaopinggan's monthly restored divine power is almost close to 100,000 points. The secret mandala has also undergone major changes. In Lingxiao City, there is a towering star observatory next to the performance building. Two sages who study the stars, Ganda and Shishen, have appeared on the star observatory. Then, Xiaopinggan saw Kuihao walking out of the performance building and came to the observatory. He bowed to Ganda and Shishen, said a few words, and invited Ganda and Shishen, the two astronomy masters. In the performance building, and then on the ground outside the performance building, in addition to the 8 diagrams, there were also some pictures of astrological signs. The entire performance building seemed to be even more mysterious. In addition to the performance building, the Mahist Mechanism Temple has also undergone some changes in the past few months. Some secret mandala craftsmen have been tinkering with things in the Mahist Mechanism Temple. Now there are many powerful mechanisms and guards on the walls of Lingxiao City. City tools. In the Holy Master Hall, there was endless sound of reading, and many people were literate and reading in the Holy Master Hall. Kangja has been teaching literacy to many disciples in the city these days. Those disciples of Kangja have also become the first batch of students in the Holy Master Hall, and now they are opening schools everywhere. There are also a few people in the cultivation hall who are meditating, but in the city where the stone tablet of the Book of Changes is placed, there are a lot of people practicing. By the way, the population of Lingxiao City has already exceeded 4 million people at this moment. When Xiaopinggan won consecutively in the God of War arena, after each victory, there were 1 or 2 million more divine power points on the giant tower. This made Xiaoping's accumulated divine power directly reach more than 100 million points, and he suddenly became rich and powerful. Thinking of the death order from the master demon god, Xiaoping gritted his teeth and simply stopped doing nothing, and directly summoned 4 people in Lingxiao City. 1 million farmers and tens of thousands of craftsmen detonated the population of Lingxiao City in one fell swoop, completely solving the population crisis in Lingxiao City. Today's Lingxiao City has completely changed. Inside and outside the city, everything is full of vitality. It has begun to enter a period of rapid development. Large areas of farmland and villages and towns have appeared outside the city. Craftsmen's workshops and schools have also appeared in large numbers. There are 4 million people. Bless you, you don't have to worry about Xiaoping'an now. The population of Lingxiao City has begun to enter a positive cycle. Nearly 1 million women have become pregnant. You can see pregnant women everywhere. In just a few months, these women will give birth. The population of Lingxiao City will exceed 5 million. In 2 or 3 years, as long as each couple has 2 children, the population of Lingxiao City will double. As for having 2 children, Xiaoping'an felt that each couple should have at least 5, 6, or 7 children. Fertility is the most important advantage in racial reproduction. The so-called Kingdom of God finally has that flavor. Now Lingxiao City can form an army of hundreds of thousands at any time, and the large formation outside the city is also operating normally. Even if hundreds of thousands of powerful enemies invade, it will be much easier to deal with it. However, Xiaoping'an did not dare to relax, because he knew how terrifying the pursuit of the demon lord was, and the real crisis in the Kingdom of God had not yet arrived. The current Lingxiao City just happened to seize this golden window of time to accelerate its development, so that it would be confident in the future. Han Xian and Xuanhuan have not returned from their expeditions, but there are often new divine powers appearing on the giant tower, ranging from hundreds to thousands. This also indicates that Han Xian and Xuanhuan often fight outside, and the harvest is not great. Small. Xiaoping'an's spiritual consciousness patrolled Lingxiao City, and he was satisfied. He had a feeling of becoming God. Just when Xiaoping'an's spiritual consciousness was about to withdraw from the secret mandala, Kui Hao's voice came from the performance building. Came out, directly ringing in Xiaoping'an's consciousness. Your Majesty, the Taoist building has just combined the astrological deductions and found that there will be a sudden arrival of a powerful enemy, and the soldiers will be in danger. If we don't deal with it as soon as possible, it will be a big disaster in this place. Strong enemy, Xiaoping'an was shocked. Yes, the hexagram shows that one of the powerful enemies was the one who escaped during the battle that day. It was he who attracted the enemy. The place we are now is extremely secretive. How does he know where we are? Xiaoping'an couldn't help but wonder. In this black dragon territory, a strong demigod just ran away and found a place to hide, hoping to find him again. Is really no different from finding a needle in a haystack. They have already left the battlefield and are hiding here. How can they be found? These powerful enemies are attracted by something. What's pulling you here? Yandeolo just deduced that the hexagram image of this thing is DUI hexagram, which shows that the 5 elements of the thing belong to gold, and then deduced it as Qian hexagram, which is symbolized by the sound of gold. The objects that attract the enemy should be metal instruments, bells, cymbals, and bells. Such as. Upon hearing this, Xiaoping'an immediately understood. Everyone had harvested a lot of trophies before. If there was something strange in those trophies that could allow the enemy to sense the location, it would not be surprising that the enemy could find this place. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1017. For Xiaoping'an, the biggest danger is the unknown and being unprepared. Now that we know where the danger comes from, we can deal with it calmly. After communicating with Kui Hao, Xiaoping'an stood up, put away the formation disc, and left the lounge. At this moment, in this small temporary base, everyone who had just experienced the battle returned to their lounges, either to rest and heal, or to enter their own secret mandala. The temporary base was quiet. For the old demigods of Black Flame, almost everyone knows some formations more or less and can refine some simple formation discs. There are so many formation secrets in the Tibetan scripture hall, and the formations have many uses. Being large is one of the necessary skills for survival and combat. It is normal for demigods to refine formation discs just like men can drive vehicles. Therefore, almost every room in this small temporary base has formations. Everyone refined it themselves. Xiaopingan came directly to the outside of Mo Xiang's room, put his hand on the formation barrier outside the room, and touched it lightly with his divine power, like knocking on the door. After more than 20 seconds, the formation barrier in Mo Xiang's room disappeared, and Mo Xiang, wearing a silver mask on half of his face, appeared at the door. When Mo Xiang saw Xiaopingan, he was slightly surprised. "What's the matter?" Xiaopingan didn't hide anything, and said simply and neatly, "I just did a divination. The place where we are now settled has been discovered by the enemy. The enemy's large force will be here in 2 days, catching us by surprise." As soon as he heard this, Mo Xiang's expression changed. Because he had been with Xiaopingan for a long time, the entire 179 team, especially Mo Xiang, had established absolute trust in Xiaopingan's divination skills, so after hearing this Mo Xiang would not doubt Xiaopingan's words at all. He took a breath of air and his face suddenly became extremely serious. "How many enemies are there?" "At least 3 times the number of our 2 teams. 3 against 1, another surprise attack." The disparity in strength was so great that there was almost no chance of winning. "Where's the time?" "In about 2 days. We evacuated from the battlefield very quickly, and I was very careful along the way. I didn't notice anyone was following me." "How did those people know we were settling here?" Mo Xiang asked with a frown. If he didn't understand this question, he wouldn't even sleep. He couldn't sleep well. As a member of the Black Flame, his tail was caught while evacuating from the battlefield. It was a joke. If he was so incompetent, he would have died hundreds of times, and there was no need to wait until now. Among the trophies we got, there is a special magic weapon that can be sensed by the enemy. Through that magic weapon, the enemy can lock our position. Hearing Xiaopingan's answer, Kui Li secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "What kind of magical weapon?" "The divination results show that it is some kind of metal magic weapon that can make sounds." Mo Xiang weighed it carefully, gritted his teeth, made up his mind, and said to Xiaopingan, "Then we will notify Qin Li immediately." Regarding Mo Xiang's decision, Xiaopingan secretly nodded. His divination skills are the biggest secret of Team 179. They have cooperated with Qin Li's team until now. Qin Li and the others don't know the secret. It was covered up well by Team 179, and at the critical moment, Mo Xiang still made a choice. In order to take the overall situation into consideration, he decided to let Qin Li and the others know something. Mo Xiang took Xiaopingan directly to the outside of Qin Li's room. Just like Xiaopingan, he gently input a little divine power on the formation barrier in Qin Li's room. Qin Li in the room felt it all at once. Within minutes, Qin Li appeared in front of the 2 of them. "Old Mo, do you 2 have anything to do with me? I was just preparing to lead my troops to have fun in the kingdom of God." Mo Xiang told Qin Li what happened in a simple and clear way. When Qin Li heard this, his expression suddenly changed. His eyes looking at Xiaopingan were full of shock. Qin Li pointed at Xiaopingan and opened his mouth. He asked awkwardly, "You mean, his divination skills can completely predict the actions of the other demigod? How is it possible?" Qin Li couldn't help but be shocked. It was just divination, and it was not a high-level secret technique. As long as the summoner who had integrated the relevant world beads could basically know it, let alone a strong person at the demigod level, everyone's idea of divination was just that. If divination involves the enemy's strong demigod, that's another matter. Because when the strength reaches the level of demigod, one foot has already jumped out of the three realms and is not among the five elements. Demigod itself is anti-divination and can accurately predict divination. The divination technique used to detect the actions of enemy demigods was definitely not comparable to ordinary divination techniques. To be honest, Qin Li had never seen such divination techniques among the strong men of the Black Flame tribe. That's the fact. Including the operation we just joined together, how many people are in the other party's mine and where I can meet you are all divined by him. Otherwise, do you think it will be such a coincidence? We can take each other out, you are so sure. I will meet you when I want to find a team to cooperate with. His abilities are known to everyone in Team 179. We have known each other for so many years. Do you think I would joke with you about this kind of thing? Mo Xiang said in a deep voice. Qin Li stopped talking, and his expression suddenly became extremely solemn. He glanced at Xiaopinggan again and nodded. I understand, let's call everyone out first, explain the matter clearly, and then discuss it. How to deal with it? Okay, Mo Xiang nodded. The three of them arrived at the hall of the temporary base. There was no need to knock on the door one by one. Qin Li waved his hand and cast a simple fireball technique and an ice cone technique. The two techniques collided and melted in the air, and the magic power of the technique fluctuated. It flashed by, and just a few seconds later, figures flashed in the hall, swish, swish, swish. Everyone rushed out in battle armor, each one filled with murderous intent. As a powerful demigod, he is extremely sensitive to the fluctuations of divine power in battles and spells happening around him. Is there an enemy attack? Where is the enemy, Nan? He asked in a rough voice with his eyes gleaming. It's not an enemy attack. It's Lao Mo and I who called everyone out. We have something important to announce to everyone. Qin Li glanced at everyone and directly told the contents of Xiaopinggan's divination. When he told the result, he was still observing the reactions of Team 179 Nanhe and Ziling. The two were just slightly stunned. They glanced at Xiaopinggan and accepted it calmly without any doubt. Sure enough, the people in Team 179 have long known that this dragon divination technique can divine these things, and they are not surprised at all. Lao Mo, you guy, thanks to us knowing each other for so many years, you have such a treasure in the team, and you still hide it so well. Strict. Qin Li muttered secretly in his heart. And the people in Qin Li's special team were just like Qin Li. They were all shocked and couldn't believe that such a thing could not be accounted for. Are you kidding? Just looking at the faces of the two captains, it was definitely not a joke. Okay, I know you all have questions, but hold your questions back for now. We will know the result soon. Now everyone, follow my order and take out all the metal magic weapons in the trophies, Qin Li ordered. When it comes to the word order, it means that there is no negotiation and must be implemented. As soon as everyone heard Qin Li's words, they all took out all the metal magical artifacts in the loot and piled them in the hall. There were 100 or 200 various metal magical artifacts. Then, everyone looked at Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan walked to those magic weapons and carefully identified them. His sharp eyes were also searching among those magic weapons. There were only 2 metal magic weapons that could make sounds. One was a dragon head. The Guhan is an inconspicuous one, a bronze bell that can be hung. Xiaopinggan carefully distinguished between the dragon head Guhan and the bell. There seemed to be nothing unusual between the two. They were both very ordinary magic weapons. The dragon head Guhan's magic weapon could control and confuse people's hearts. To break some illusions, the bell will make a clear ringing sound from time to time after being infused with divine power, which can soothe the soul and calm the mind, preventing people from going crazy when practicing. Suddenly, Xiaoping's heart moved, and he thought of a skill of the pastor. He condensed his soul power into a secret talisman and punched it into the two magic weapons. The magic weapon of the dragon head Guhan was penetrated by his secret talisman at all. There was no response, and the small bell, into which his secret talisman entered, was immediately shaken away by a strange energy wave inside the bell. The secret talisman turned into an imperceptible mist-like energy circle. The energy circle was like water on the ground. Every 3 seconds, the energy circle trembled slightly, and he felt the strange fluctuations coming from inside the bell. In that kind of fluctuation, Xiaoping'an also felt there is another bell, and there is a faint feeling between the two bell instruments. What an artifact! It's this bell weapon that can be sensed by the enemy and lock our position. Xiaoping'an picked up the bell weapon and said to everyone. What are you going to do? Mo Xiang asked Qin Li. What about you, are you retreating or fighting? Qin Li asked Mo Xiang. The two guys were exchanging messages with their eyes. Ahem. Xiaoping'an coughed twice and glanced at everyone. I think if we arrange it properly, we may be able to gain another batch of military achievements here and let the enemy take the initiative to get into our trap. I'm here, there is a big guy who should be able to use it. Xiaoping'an said, and took out the Void Divine Thunder he had obtained before. My Void Divine Thunder should be a higher level, and it seems to be more powerful. Okay, it's a little bigger than the one I used before. I have a similar one here. Qin Li suddenly grinned, and with a move of his hand, he also took out a Void Divine Thunder, which was exactly the same as the one in Xiaoping'an's hand. 2 8th level Void Divine Thunder, it should be about the same. Mo Xiang suddenly coughed twice, moved his hand and took out one. Ahem, I also got one a few years ago, but I haven't used it yet. Qin Li suddenly stared at Mo Xiang, with a look of toothache on his face. You guy, didn't you say before that you didn't have any? Let me come out. Mo Xiang said leisurely, there are so many things piled up in my warehouse that I forgot about them. When I saw you guys taking them out, I remembered that I still have a big one, which should be put to use now. Everyone looked at me and I looked at you. Suddenly, everyone laughed sadly together. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1018. After almost 2 days of flight, the snake-shaped airship carrying the black-scale monsters Tulmasa and Schulz had quietly flown into the void more than 8,000 kilometers away from the temporary base where Xiaoping'an and the others settled. There is a broken mountain range floating in the void here. There are thousands of meters of stones and broken mountains and peaks everywhere. The snake-shaped airship that flew here shows the powerful performance of the airship. The airship twists like a snake. The huge airship shuttled flexibly between the boulders and fractured mountains. The entire airship became completely transparent and completely invisible to the naked eye. Finally, the airship successfully concealed itself in the canyon of a huge mountain range. On the airship, the tentacle-like mechanical arm stretched out and was firmly fixed on the rock wall of the canyon. The hatch of the flying boat opened, and the black-scale demons Tulmasa and Schulz flew out of the flying boat. Behind them were 36 strong demigods from the black-scale demon clan. This team was so powerful and evil. Steaming. The powerful demigods of the black-scale demon clan all have snake heads and human bodies, with huge thick metal scales on their bodies, and they also wear ferocious forbidden armors. The cruel and terrifying aura flows from their bodies, making people feel heart-stopping. Sales, you asked us to park the spaceship here. Are the temporary human settlements nearby? The black-scaled demon Tulmasa spat out blood-red letters, scanned the surrounding space, and asked in a hoarse voice. Road. Even Shars felt a little uncomfortable being stared at by dozens of black-scale demons. Although he was in the same camp, Shars knew that each of these powerful demigods of the black-scale demon clan, they all grew up by feeding on humans. On the bodies of these powerful black-scale demon demigods, there are countless human blood debts. They have eaten not only 100,000 but also 80,000 people. In the eyes of these ugly reptiles, they are just a plate of delicious food. Damn it, if there was no other choice, Shales would never want to cooperate with these guys. Perhaps at this moment, in these guys' heads, they are thinking about how to cheat themselves after the mission is over, and these guys have the thick rotten smell that only exists on the dead and the fishy smell of snakes mixed into an unspeakable smell. Each one looked like they were fished out of a pile of corpses, which was really disappointing. People are uncomfortable, but they themselves enjoy this taste. Those people are 10,000 kilometers away. Their temporary location has not changed. You follow me and I will take you there, Schulz said, and in a flash, he had already flown out of this huge canyon. The whole person suddenly became invisible to the naked eye under the cover of illusion. Illusion is very useful in the Black Dragon realm. Although ordinary illusions cannot deceive other powerful demigods at close range, it can protect themselves very well from a distance. Generally, it is difficult to be fooled from a distance. The enemy discovered. Therefore, most mages have mastered this basic magic skill. Shars, you are too careful, don't you trust me now? The black scale demon Tulmasa sneered, waved his hand, and flew out with his men following Shars. These black scale demons, each body was also covered with illusions in the air. Those people may change their positions at any time, and only I can sense their positions. I'm just worried that there will be some unexplainable changes in the process. Shals explained, if I don't come here in person, what will happen if I don't come here in person, Hermosa, you won't be relieved either, right? The black-scaled demon Tulmosa had nothing to say. Although the two cooperated, they also had their own agendas and were secretly wary of each other. The different races and strong men under the command of the dominating demon were not as harmonious as outsiders imagined, and they were scheming behind the scenes. There are a lot of stabbing things. You are still so cautious. If those people are really surrounded and annihilated by us, I will not miss your spoils. Yes, of course I believe it. It's just a battle like this. I can't just sit back and watch. They killed my people, and I want to take revenge. The black scale demon Termosa stopped talking. Under the leadership of Schulz, the group of people shuttled quickly through the void at a speed of nearly 2,000 kilometers per hour. Because the individual targets were smaller, they were more cautious when approaching the target. Difficult to be discovered. A few hours later, the mountain range where Xiaopingan's temporary base is located has appeared 400 to 500 kilometers away from SARS and his party. For the demigods, this distance is already very close, and they can launch a surprise attack. Distance. Their temporary base is in the heart of that mountain range. Schulz pointed to the mountains in the distance in the void. While transmitting the sound, he directly pointed his perceived position towards the black scale monster Termosa. Passed it on so that the black scale demon Tulmasa could locate those people. There are 11 of them. Only 9 of them have mastered the divine skills. The black scale demon Tulmasa's eyes were filled with blood, and he locked his eyes tightly on the mountain in the void in the distance as he made final confirmation. Yes, Schulz nodded. A sly smile appeared on the face of the black scale demon Tulmosa. He waved his hand gently. The next second, the more than 30 demigods of the black scale demon clan under him dispersed and headed towards flying around, forming a situation of encirclement from all directions. More than 20 minutes later, when all his men were fully in position in the void within 400 to 500 kilometers around the target, the black-scaled demon Tulmosa launched an attack. With a wave of his hand, a void divine thunder appeared in front of him. In his hand, the void divine thunder turned into a ray of light, flew directly to the sky above the mountain that Shaer sensed, and detonated instantly. A ball of hot and dazzling white light appeared in the void. Under the white light, the terrifying shockwave and high temperature distorted the surrounding space, just like the sun was born in the void, completely vaporizing and shattering the mountains in the void. The procedure for this raid was the same as when Xiaoping'an and the others raided the mine. As long as they determined the location of the enemy and had a powerful weapon like the Void Thunder in their hands, detonating the Void Thunder was almost all possible. Human choice: under the Void God's thunder, even a demigod will be seriously injured if he is unprepared, even if he is not dead. If he is lucky, he may be able to end it all at once. The last time Xiaoping'an and the others raided the mine, the special properties of the sun's iron veins eliminated a large part of the destructive power of the Void Divine Thunder. Otherwise, Schulz and his demigods would have suffered heavy casualties. The combat power has dropped even more sharply, and the mountain in front of them is not a vein of solar iron, it is just an ordinary rock, so the power of the Void Divine Thunder can be exerted to the greatest extent. Sure enough, when the light of the Void Divine Thunder was about to dissipate, the black scale demon Tulmasa and Schulz had already seen the results of the Void Divine Thunder. All matter in the void within 300 kilometers around the Void Divine Thunder, the mountains and rocks completely disappeared and were cleared away. In the core area where the two Void Gods detonated, there was a bronze 7-story pagoda crumbling. The bronze pagoda, in the light of the Void God Thunder, a third of the tower body has collapsed and melted a lot, but it still emits a golden brilliance, which can resist a lot of the power of the Void Divine Thunder. In addition to the bronze pagoda, there were 5 figures whose bodies were broken and seemed to have been seriously injured. They were vomiting blood and rushed into the bronze pagoda at the moment when the Void God's thunder light disappeared. Seeing this situation, the black scale demon Tulmasa and Schulz were instantly ecstatic. That pagoda is a powerful and rare protective weapon called the Tower of Sanctuary. The Tower of Sanctuary is usually fused with the consciousness of a strong demigod and will be triggered when encountering danger to provide protection. Roll. And the Tower of Shelter they saw should have sheltered its owner many times before, so the tower was much damaged. But now, although the Tower of Shelter has resisted to a certain extent the void that was just detonated. Divine Thunder, but the Tower of Sanctuary is already crumbling and cannot support it for long. More importantly, there is only one owner of the Tower of Asylum, and together with the 5 people who had just been seriously injured and escaped into the tower, it means that there are now 6 people alive on the other side, and 5 of them were seriously injured, and they are still there were more than 30 people. 6 to 1. If such an encirclement and annihilation battle allows the other side to escape even one person, that would be stupidity and incompetence. Seeing this situation, as soon as the shockwave of the Void Divine Thunder disappeared, the black scale demon Tulmosa roared angrily and shouted, "Kill them," and his whole body turned into a red light, already rushed towards the Tower of Protection. The black-scaled demon demigods who surrounded the Tower of Sanctuary in the surrounding space also had red eyes and rushed towards the Tower of Sanctuary as fast as they could, like hungry wolves pouncing on food. Shales was not slow either. The moment he saw the black-scale demon Tulmosa rushing out, he also rushed out. Tulmosa's Void God Thunder was so effective that he killed the opponent in one go. The remaining 5 people couldn't hold on for long in the Tower of Asylum. When the Tower of Asylum was shattered, it was the time to gain military glory, and he didn't want to miss it. Moreover, in the void around the Tower of Sanctuary, there are 5 sets of forbidden armors and some magical treasures and solar iron floating in it that have not been melted by the power of the Void Divine Thunder. These things were just killed by the Void Divine Thunder. The few people who broke the news revealed that these are all treasures. Whoever catches them belongs to whom. Although we have already negotiated the distribution of the spoils with the black-scaled monster Tulmasa, anything that is not in hand will always be empty. Yes, it is only real if you grasp what you have in hand, and Schulz naturally does not dare to neglect it. What thoughts does Shars have? What thoughts does the black-scale demon Tulmasa also have? Those forbidden armors are treasures. You can accumulate military merit by taking them back. Moreover, these things were just exploded by his own Void Divine Thunder. They are theirs. Can't let others get involved. When the black-scale demon Tulmasa saw Shars charging fiercely, he narrowed his eyes and moved his hand. A black mist suddenly exploded in his hand, moving towards him like a tide. Sal swept away in the distance. And Shars seemed to have been prepared for it. When he saw the black-scaled demon Tulmasa making a move, his figure suddenly split into 5 parts and exploded in the sky like dandelions. The black-scaled demon Tulmasa, the black tide released by Tulmasa, only blasted away and dissipated his 4 figures, but there was still a figure that rushed out of the black tide released by the black-scaled demon Tulmasa in a flash, riding all the way. Chen Chen even rushed to the front. "Tulmasa, what do you want to do?" Schulz roared. "Ha ha ha, it's nothing. I was too nervous just now and my hand slipped. Moreover, the battle ahead is too dangerous, so leave it to us. Shars, I'm doing this for your own good. You don't have to interfere in the rest of the matter. You are here, just watch from the side, I won't miss you your spoils of war." The black scale demon Tulmasa said cunningly. "Thank you for your kindness. We have discussed the distribution plan of the spoils before. When I get my spoils, I will return them. I can leave the rest of the battle to you. As for those forbidden armors, I want at least 3 sets. All the solar iron belongs to me," Shars said, rushing faster, just like a meteor flying through the void. "Don't you believe me?" The black scale demon Tulmasa had already made an excuse to roar, and quickly turned his face and disowned him. "Sales, you doubted me during the battle, doubted the teammates who fought and cooperated with you, doubted the honest and noble Termosa. Cunning, hypocritical and shameless humans, really cannot cooperate together. Your suspicion and distrust are an insult to the Black Scale Demon clan and damage to my reputation. We, the Black Scale Demon clan, will never accept it. Stop this kind of suspicion and insult immediately, otherwise I will be rude to you." Following the roar of the Black Scale Demon Tulmasa, 2 strong demigods from the Black Scale Demon clan were already approaching Shars, one from the left and the other from the right. "Tulmasa, you are more shameless than me." Shars sneered, and in the blink of an eye, he had already avoided 2 attacks on him. Shars's target was the taboo in the void in front of him. Battle armor. In this way, both sides were fighting in the air while quickly approaching the Tower of Sanctuary. In just a moment, Schulz, the Black Scale Demon Tulmasa and the other demigods of the Black Scale Demon clan had already approached the sanctuary. Within 30 kilometers around the tower. Although the Black Scale Demon clan has many people, Shars is not a fuel-efficient lamp. The 2 demigods of the Black Scale Demon clan who forced Shars were directly thrown away by Shars. Shars took action, but he was still more than 20 kilometers away. As soon as he took action, a big hand appeared in the void and grabbed a set of ice blue forbidden armor floating in front of him. The black-scaled demon Termosa also quickly took action. As he waved, several long black snakes over 100 meters long flew out of his hands, opening their mouths to swallow the sets of forbidden armors and the sky, the magic weapon and the sun iron. Then, in the next second, Sal's big hand picked up the set of ice blue forbidden armor, but the set of ice blue forbidden armor was like bubbles, shaking for a moment and dissipating directly. Caught a loneliness. Several long black snakes flew out from the hands of the black scale demon Tulmosa, opening their huge mouths to swallow the sets of forbidden armors, magic weapons, and solar iron, which also dissipated instantly like bubbles. No, it's a powerful illusion projection. At this moment, the 2 people's expressions changed at the same time, and they were shocked. Sharz's face instantly turned pale, while the face of the black scale demon Tulmasa suddenly became extremely ferocious. Fell into a trap. The next second, the tower of shelter that was still standing just now disappeared. There is nothing here. And all of them have gathered here. What did the 2 of them think of at the same time? Retreat. The black scale demon Tulmasa's face suddenly became frightened, and he roared at the top of his lungs. Without even thinking about it, Shars turned around and tried to run away into the distance. Then at this moment, 2 points of white light exploded over the heads of the black-scale demons Tulmoza and Schulz and more than 10 kilometers below their feet, expanding rapidly. The 2 bursts of light were like 2 open giant umbrellas of light, overlapping and closing where the black-scaled demon Tulmoza, Schulz, and others were. Everything was distorted under the light. The next second, the hot light and shockwave completely annihilated the void. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1019. When the brilliance of the 2 void divine thunders bloomed like an umbrella canopy, behind a huge boulder floating in the void 700 kilometers away from the explosion point, the figures of Xiaopingan and Ziling also appeared from the void. Both of them were wearing forbidden armor and were ready to continue fighting. The power of the 2 void divine thunders was too great, so the relative safe distance also expanded to 700 kilometers away from the explosion point. From beginning to end, this place is a death trap waiting for the enemy to fall into. Except for the bell that can be sensed, everyone has evacuated from the temporary base and is hiding and ambushing in the void 800 kilometers away. Forming a counter-encirclement circle. Mo Xiang used his divine skill to destroy the illusion and performed a long-distance illusion projection. He used the trophies in the illusion and the ruined tower of shelter to attract the enemy to the core area where the 2 void divine thunders were detonated, and then completed the detonation. Every step of the enemy's raid was repeatedly considered beforehand and fell into Xiaopingan's calculations, and this plan was finally formulated. Xiaopingan and his 2 teams only have 11 people, but the enemy is more than 3 times their number. The reason why Xiaopingan and the others dare to set up such an anti-siege strategy is their confidence in the power of the 2 void god thunders. Logo enemies that enter the core area of the explosion power of those 2 void divine thunders will most likely be completely annihilated by the 2 void divine thunders. Even if there are still enemies who survive in the end, the number of enemies that can survive will only be killed. It is impossible to exceed the number of 1 slap and finger, and they are absolutely seriously injured or dying. In this case, the strength of the enemy and ourselves is reversed. The counter-encirclement of the 2 teams of Black Flame is to ensure that the enemy is completely annihilated and not allowed to escape. The terrifying shockwave of the void divine thunder swept across to where Xiaopingan and Ziling were in the blink of an eye. The forbidden armor on the 2 people formed a half-moon-shaped light shield in the shockwave, like a reef in the waves, protecting the 2 people. Among them, the boulders around the 2 people had been shattered bit by bit in the shockwave, and then they were blown to nowhere in the blink of an eye. It turns out they are these beasts of the Black Scale Demon clan. Ziling gritted her teeth and stared into the distance, with a murderous aura between her teeth. If those beasts of the Black Scale Demon clan were wiped out by the void divine thunder, that would be easier for them. The flash of light in the void was reflected in Xiaopingan's deep eyes. Xiaopingan was a little surprised by Ziling's excitement. He looked at Ziling and said, "Have you ever had a problem with the Black Scale Demon clan?" "I personally have no quarrel with the Black Scale Demon clan. I only had 2 missions involving the Black Scale Demon clan. I have seen the Black Scale Demon clan's cruelty and darkness towards humans." Ziling shook her head, looking a little embarrassed. "Forget it, let's not talk about it. I still feel sick when I think about that scene. Billions of human races on a planet are all controlled by the Black Scale Demon clan and confused their minds. Then they eat blood sacrifices alive. All Black Scale demons can be killed." "Absolutely not. We'll kill the wrong person." Xiaopingan nodded, somewhat understanding. This was the first time he saw the strong men of the Black Scale Demon clan since he entered the Black Dragon domain. These Black Scale Demon clan are different from other races. They all act in groups, and generally do not will accept and join teams composed of other races. There shouldn't be many people who can survive. Xiaopingan looked at the core area where the scorching light appeared in the distance, and said softly. The high temperature and shock wave in the core area had already caused the space there to distort with the naked eye. When it rises, it looks extremely terrifying. Even the powerful demigods cannot resist it. After the void divine thunder detonates, the high temperature and shock wave are shrinking towards the core area. I hope one or two of them can survive. Zi Ling said, already taking out her weapon and rushing towards the core area of the explosion. Xiaoping'an also rushed towards it. Just over 10 seconds later, the light in the core area of the explosion disappeared. Xiaoping'an suddenly saw the situation in the core area. More than 30 sets of forbidden armors were scattered in the void, and there were only 2 in the entire core area. The enemy's body was completely broken and survived. Of the 2 survivors, most of their bodies were scorched black, with the bones inside their bodies exposed. They didn't look like humans or ghosts, and they were extremely miserable. One of them seemed to be one of those black men. The leader of the Scale Demon team, the one who just commanded the Black Scale Demon demigods, is the guy who ran away from the mine last time. Next to the leader of the Black Scale Demon, there are 6 Black Scale Demon skeletons and ashes of scale armor, which are still condensed in the void, forming a formation. It seems that at a critical moment, the leader of the Black Scale Demon will he pulled several Black Scale Demons around him to use as shields, and used the bodies of his companions and subordinates to block the terrifying power of the Void God's thunder. As for the guy who escaped from the mine last time, there were countless sparkling solar iron fragments floating around. That guy should be something made of solar iron, which resisted the Void Divine Thunder just now. Everything went as expected. Under the 2 Void Divine Thunders, more than 30 opponents were almost completely wiped out. In the end, only 2 people survived, and they were already half dead. The current situation suddenly became 11 versus 2, and the Black Flame side had an overwhelming advantage. In addition to Xiaoping'an and Zi Ling, the other teammates who were ambushing in the surrounding void, including Mo Xiang, Nan He, and those from Qin Li's team, transformed into streams of light at this moment, rushing towards the 2 guys from all directions. Those 2 guys also woke up from the devastating blow of the Void Divine Thunder in an instant. The black-scaled demon Tulmoza stared at Sal's with his blood-red eyes. Without saying a word, he roared and burst into pieces. His whole body turned into a strange black snake more than 50 meters long. With one bounce of his body, he rushed in one direction, and before breaking out, he took away the 7 or 8 sets of forbidden armors in the void, not wanting to stay. With half of the bones on his face exposed, Shars spit out a mouthful of blood. Without saying any nonsense, he quickly took out a potion and poured it into his mouth, and then rushed directly in the opposite direction of Tulmoza's breakout. Whether you can escape or not depends on your life. I won't let you run away this time, kill. Seeing Shars charging towards his direction, Nan he raised his eyebrows, roared, and let out the giant net in his hand. The net turned into thousands of rays of light in the air, entangling towards Shars from all directions. The moment Nan he took action, the teammates around Nan he also opened fire one by one from hundreds of kilometers away. Various divine skills blasted towards Shars. In the sky hundreds of kilometers away, for a time, full of deadly colorful flames. The black-scale demon Tulmoza, who transformed into a snake, fled quickly towards the 3 o'clock direction on the lower right of Xiaoping'an and the others. At that position, a demigod strongman from Mo Xiang and Qin Li's team happened to be stationed. When he saw the scale demon Tulmoza came running towards him. Without saying a word, Mo Xiang used the divine skill to destroy the illusion. The airspace for hundreds of miles around him was instantly black, like a dark wall, and he collided with the black-scale demon Tulmoza. Past. The demigod strongman named Zhao Gang from Qin Li's team who was following Mo Xiang used his spiritual skills to slash the black-scale demon Tulmoza with his sword. A purple sword light flew out from Zhao Gang's hand. When the sword light flew 100 meters, it turned into 10 sword lights. When it flew 1,000 meters, it turned into 100 sword lights. When it flew 10,000 meters, it turned into 1,000 sword lights. The terrifying sword light was like a peacock spreading its tail, flying more and more, gradually filling the void, and then thousands of sword lights went directly towards the black scale demon Tulmasa to kill it. In a fight like this, no one is stupid enough to test. They use killing moves and special moves in order to kill the enemy, and an enemy who can survive 2 Void Divine Thunders is definitely not an ordinary character. Sure enough, Tulmasa, who turned into a giant snake, opened his huge mouth while running away, and countless red lights spurted out from his mouth. In the red light, there was a human-shaped skull, and thousands of skulls directly faced him. He blasted those sword lights away. Amidst the loud rumbling noises, sword lights exploded one after another. The void for hundreds of miles was swept away by the powerful force. At the same time, Tulmasa's fleeing figure also blocked. Facing Mo Xiang's shattered illusion, Tulmasa did not dive in headlong. Instead, he dashed towards the direction of Xiaoping'an and Ziling, hoping to carve out a bloody path here. Good come. Xiaoping'an's eyes were shining brightly. He looked at the rushing Tulmasa and grabbed Tulmasa directly. In the void 100 miles away, Xiaoping'an followed Xiaoping'an. As soon as he made a move, a big hill-like hand appeared directly in front of Tulmasa, grabbing directly towards Tulmasa's body like a snake. Ziling's spiritual skills were also used at the same time. She stabbed Tulmasa with her sword. In the sword light, she saw a fairy holding a long sword coming to the world in the light, and then with a sword he slashed towards Tulmasa's neck. Facing the attack of the 2 men, Tulmasa's body returned to human form in an instant, roared, and waved 2 huge blood-red sword wheels like 2 wheels with both hands, blasting towards Xiaoping'an's giant hand and the holding weapon. The fairy who came with the sword. Rumble. The loud noise roared in the void again. The attacks of Xiaoping'an and Ziling were actually neutralized by Tulmasa at the same time, but Tulmasa was also blasted so hard that he vomited blood and flew backwards. In the blink of an eye, he met the other 2 demigods rushing over from Qin Li's team. The third wave of attacks. The Black Flame team were all veterans, and the encirclement battle situation was formed instantly. Almost immediately after Shars and Tulmasa were attacked by the first wave, within a few rounds, Qin Li and 5 others had already attacked Shars. The demigods were surrounded, and Tulmasa was surrounded by Xiaoping'an and 6 other people, making it difficult for the 2 to escape. Xiaoping'an was shocked while participating in the attack on Tulmasa. This black scale demon was so strong that even though he was seriously injured, he was still struggling and persisting under the siege of 6 people, and suddenly turned into a human body. Suddenly turned into a giant snake monster python, unpredictable. The methods he used were like martial arts and magic. It was very difficult to deal with. If there were only 2 people here, it would be really difficult to keep this guy. Unfortunately, he did escape, but 6 people surrounded him, but they never gave the black scale demon a chance to escape. A few minutes later, Shars screamed and was directly killed by several divine skills from Qin Li and others. Qin Li and others quickly rushed towards the battlefield here. After Qin Li and others rushed over, under the siege of 11 people, Tulmasa finally collapsed instantly and was defeated by Xiaoping'an's divine fist and several others. The divine skills hit the body at the same time, and with a scream, the whole body was torn apart, and he was killed instantly. In this battle, the 2 teams set up traps and finally annihilated their opponents. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1020. Boom. As Tulmasa's body was shattered by the attack of the divine skill, a large area of colorful things exploded in the void like fireworks. Those things are in the Tulmasa space warehouse. There are many of them. It is really like a huge warehouse pouring out of the void. It suddenly occupies the huge space of more than 10 stadiums. Densely packed divine crystals are in the air. Flashing with alluring brilliance, the taboo armor that had lost its owner was floating aimlessly. This guy is really difficult to deal with. I finally killed him. Zi Ling stood beside him, put away the weapon in his hand, and sighed contentedly. Xiaoping's eyes were fixed on the things pouring out of the void. When I went there, he saw dozens of world beads and a lot of spiritual crystals. He couldn't help but move his index finger. However, at this moment, those things were still there. What didn't belong to him was everyone's trophy, and would be redistributed later. As soon as Mo Xiang's fantasy unfolded, he immediately collected all the trophies. But Xiaoping glanced at the giant tower in his secret mandala, with a satisfied smile on his face. One of the two previous Void Divine Thunders was his contribution, and that Void Divine Thunder probably killed a lot of black people. The Scale Demon Demigod directly added more than 28 million points of divine power to him. When the Black Scale Demon was finally killed, it was also because of the power of his Emperor's Divine Fist that more than 300,000 points of divine power were added to the Giant Tower. With this move, the divine power condensed on the Giant Tower once again approached the 100 million point mark. Looking at the sudden increase in divine power on the Giant Tower after a battle, Xiaoping quietly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The tower's divine power conversion ability was so terrifying that it made him a little frightened. Compared with most summoners' monthly divine power recovery capabilities, when they are below 100,000 points, what is the concept of 100 million divine power points? It is like digging a divine crystal mine. That giant tower, whether in the world of the kingdom of God or in the real world, is simply an artifact that feeds war. It will make people stronger as they fight, and the more garbage and enemies they destroy, the stronger they will become. At this moment, Xiaoping feels that every time he fights, he will become stronger. Every battle is like accumulating energy for a giant tower. Mo Xiang, Qin Li, and others had already flown over, and the 11-person team gathered in the air again. Is everyone okay? Qin Li asked. Fine. With so many of us, what else can we do to two of them? But to be honest, this last Black Scale Demon is really a bit difficult to deal with. This battle is a blast. Nan, he grinned. Everyone had smiles on their faces. In this ambush battle, their two teams had a total of 11 people. They worked together to kill more than 3 times the number of enemies. It was definitely a brilliant victory, although it also consumed 2 Void Divine Thunders. But it is definitely worth it, because the value of those 2 Void Divine Thunders, if used in normal battles, the results may be less than 1/5 of what they are now. Everyone's eyes were unknowingly focused on Xiaoping. The eyes of the demigods flashed, and their eyes changed when they looked at Xiaoping. The most critical reason for this victory was that Xiaoping's divination skills allowed the two teams to seize the opportunity in advance. With calm arrangements, they turned defeat into victory in the face of adversity. Without Xiaoping's divination skills, they were suddenly attacked by 3 times more powerful enemies. Those who are celebrating their victory now are probably those black scale monsters. This result makes everyone shudder. Team 179 has become accustomed to the power of Xiaoping's divination skills, but for Qin Li's team, this result is particularly shocking to them. There is really divination technology that can break the anti-divination characteristics of the strong demigods to predict the enemy. Too strong. With the aid of such divination, on a battlefield like the Black Dragon territory, the team can become a fish in water and become even more powerful, making information about the enemy and ourselves transparent. Everyone knows what this means. Is this divination skill also a divine skill? It's just that I have never heard of a divination skill at the level of a divine skill. Zhao Gang from Qin Li's team looked at Xiaoping and muttered softly to himself. This sentence made Qin Li the sentiments of many in the squad were spoken. Everyone must keep silent about the divination skills mastered by Team 179 Longhorn and the course of this battle. This is an order, Qin Li directly ordered the members of his team to follow the instructions implemented by each Black Flame team. It is a military regulation, so this is a military order, not a joke. Qin Li glanced at the faces of his men with serious eyes, and when he saw everyone nodding, he added in a gentle tone, "Now let's unify the caliber." If it happens later, when someone asked about this battle, they said it was a trap we set up in advance to deliberately leave loopholes for the enemy to discover, but we unexpectedly caught a big fish. There is no flaw in this reason. Ambushes and counter-ambushes, traps and counter-traps have always been the norm in the Black Dragon territory. All kinds of tricks and bloody fights are commonplace here. The squadron coming to raid this time is the squadron of the Black-Scaled Demon Clan. According to the configuration of the Overlord Demon God, since they are a squadron, they should also have a Phantom Snake-class flying boat. In order to avoid being discovered by us, they must hide the flying boat. We're somewhere not far from here, let's look for it. If we can find the flying boat, it will be a credit and it can increase everyone's credit points, Mo said. Well, let's find Fiazhu and let's discuss the distribution of the spoils, Qin Li also nodded. Everyone who had just finished the battle became energetic again when they heard that the enemy's flying boat could be captured. The opponent's flying boat was a good thing. Their spaceship should be in a fan-shaped area in the direction they came from. The nearest distance from here will not be less than 5,000 kilometers, and the farthest distance will not be more than 15,000 kilometers. If you search separately, you should be able to find it, Qin Li's team one person suggested. Well, Brother Long should be able to divine the location of their flying boat, right? Remember last time? Nan he thought of something and stopped quickly. He scratched his head and looked at Xiaopingan. After Jing Longhuan said this, everyone in Qin Li's team looked at Xiaopingan's face again. Divination. Wherever there is any need for divination, the god of fortune boy has already found the flying boat driven by those guys. As Xiaopingan's strength increases, the activity area and ability of the boy of fortune god have also become larger. Now the boy of fortune god, once released, in the blink of an eye, he can travel 20,000 to 30,000 kilometers away. When he met the enemy just now, the god of fortune boy had already found the flying boat hidden by those people. Ahem, we have indeed divined the location of their flying boat, which is about 8,000 kilometers away from here. Xiaopingan could only say this. Anyway, the divination card has been exposed, so naturally the less people know about the card of fortune god boy, the better. Everyone was strangely silent for a moment. Qin Li looked at Mo Xiang, who coughed twice, then let's go capture the flying boat first and use it as a way to clean up the battlefield. Good. Everyone nodded. Xiaopingan didn't say any more nonsense, and directly led everyone to fly towards the place where the airship was. During the flight, Xiaopingan did not deliberately put himself in any special position, but he didn't know is it the tacit understanding of others. When flying towards the flying boat, everyone in the two teams had unknowingly protected Xiaopingan in the central area of the team, so that Xiaopingan was surrounded by people at the front, back, left, right and bottom. Under normal circumstances, only important people will receive this kind of treatment. A few hours later, Xiaopingan led everyone to the broken mountain range floating in the void. After passing through countless mountain peaks and boulders, he finally found the ship hidden on the rock wall deep in the canyon. Flying boat. Everyone was shocked when they saw the huge flying boat. The flying boat is in a silent state, completely closed, and no one from the outside can get in at all. Qi Ying. Qin Li shouted. A tall and thin man in his team smiled and rushed to the door of the airship. He stretched out his hand and pressed it on the airship, closed his eyes, and then the whole ship, the flying boat, was instantly covered in light blue light. This scene gave Xiaopingan the feeling of a master cracking a safe. It only took less than 2 minutes. A smile appeared on the face of the strong demigod named Qi Ying, and he moved his hand away from the airship. Captain, it's done. This Phantom Snake class airship is quite new, not bad. As soon as he finished speaking, the hatch of the flying boat slid open silently. Everyone looked at each other and smiled, and all entered the flying boat. Just half a minute later, the shape of the spaceship turned transparent and was no longer visible, disappearing directly into the depths of the canyon. On the flying boat, everyone gathered in the command cabin of the flying boat, looking at the layout inside the flying boat, with excited smiles on their faces. The powerful demigod named Jiaying sat directly in the control position of the flying boat and had a great time. "Where are we going now?" someone asked. "Of course, go to the auspicious position," someone murmured softly, and then everyone seemed to have discussed it, and everyone's eyes suddenly focused on Xiaoping's face. Xiaoping rubbed his face helplessly, and could only remain silent for a while, letting Kui Li do some divination, and then said, "Let's go southeast." "Copy that," Jiaying shouted, and the flying boat immediately changed its direction. "Now, it's time to distribute the spoils of this battle." Qin Li spoke softly.